name is Leah, and this is my story. I was 34 when I felt my life start to slip away from me. Daniel and I had been married for over a decade, raising our two beautiful children, Lily and Ethan, in what I believed was a strong, loving family. But as time passed, tiny cracks in our relationship started to appear. Daniel would stay out later than usual, miss family dinners, and dodge any conversation about our future together. I noticed it, of course, but I tried to brush it off as stress from his demanding job. I convinced myself that everything was fine, that he was just under. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. Before we dive deeper into Leah's story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. If you've ever faced difficult moments in your relationships or found yourself questioning the people you trust, Leah's journey might resonate with you. Join us at SpeakWell Academy, where we share heartfelt stories and offer insights to help you navigate life's challenges. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on content that could make a difference. One evening, Daniel came home hours late, his absence stretching into the night. I had waited up, watching the clock, each tick echoing the dread building inside me. When he finally walked in, I tried to keep my voice steady, to ask calmly, "Where were you?" But he shrugged, muttering something about work, his tone cold, dismissive. He wouldn't even look at me. I want to press him, demand answers, but a strange mixture of fear and denial held me back. I felt an instinct to ignore the warning signs, to cling to the belief that everything was okay, that he was still the man I knew. Days passed, and with each passing day, he seemed further out of reach. I could feel the walls of my life closing in, the familiar warmth of my home turning cold and distant. I began to feel like an outsider in my own life, watching as everything crumbled. I knew that something was breaking between us, but I was too scared to face the truth. One rainy Sunday, Daniel left his phone on the kitchen counter. A message notification lit up the screen, and my heart skipped. I told myself to ignore that it was nothing. I had on there, reaching for the phone. My fingers trembled as I opened his messages. There, staring back at me, was the undeniable proof, a string of affectionate texts to another woman. I felt my world collapse, my chest tightening as tears filled my eyes. I read the words again and again, hoping it was a mistake. I felt betrayed, not just by Daniel, but by Heather. That night, I confronted him, barely able to contain my pain and disbelief. But instead of remorse, he looked at me with cold disdain, accusing me of snooping and calling me paranoid. His harsh words pierced deeper than I thought possible, and I realized then that I was alone, truly and utterly alone. The days that followed were a blur of numbness and disbelief. Daniel's coldness grew, his silence louder than any words he could have spoken. When he was home, he was a ghost, moving through our home as if we were strangers. Night and barrow, filled with the sound of my own broken heart as I lay awake, wondering how we had arrived at this place. Our conversations had become nothing more than tense exchanges. Every room felt dead. I tried to carry on for our children's sake, but each smile I forced felt like a betrayal of my own pain. Reaching out to family and friends felt impossible. I didn't want them to see the cracks in my life, in my marriage. I wanted so desperately to believe this nightmare would end. But each morning I awoke to the same suffocating reality. I was barely holding on, barely able to keep the pieces of myself from falling apart completely. One night, I gathered the courage from the question that had haunted me for months. Why? I whispered, my voice barely audible. I do wrong. He looked at me cold, detached. You're always so busy with the kids, the house, he replied, as if the weight of our lives had been solely my burden to bear. I needed something for myself. His words stung, twisting the knife of betrayal even deeper. I felt the anger and heartbreak rising within me, the bitterness of years sacrificed, dreams put aside, and ambitions left behind. I wanted to scream, to make him see how much I had given up for us, for him. But as he stood there, blaming me for his choices, I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. It was as though everything I had done for our family was being erased, as if my sacrifices had never mattered. The guilt took root in my heart, suffocating me, making me question my worth, my choices, everything I thought I had known. In the days that followed, I poured all of myself into our children, hoping it would fill the void left by Daniel's betrayal. I woke before dawn, making breakfasts, packing lunches, helping with homework, putting on a brave face for them, even as I felt myself crumbling inside. Nights were the worst, when the silence of home became overwhelming, and I lay in bed, replaying memories of times, questioning every choice, every moment that led us here. The woman I once was, vibrant and full of dreams, felt like a stranger. I no longer recognized the face staring back at me in the mirror. Come a shadow of myself, going through the motions, barely able to hold on. I knew I had lost a part of myself, but I didn't know how to get her back. I felt trapped, afraid that I would never find the strength to break free from the life that was slowly suffocating me. One evening rang. It was Sarah, a friend who had noticed my absence. She insisted we meet, and for the first time in months, I found myself opening up. As I poured out my fears and pain, she listened, her presence a comfort I hadn't realized I needed. Leah, she said softly, her eyes filled with compassion. You deserve happiness too. You can't keep holding on to someone who isn't holding on to you. Her words resonated deeply, planting a seed of hope in my heart. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a life without Daniel. A life where I wasn't weighed down by betrayal and loneliness. I didn't know how or when, but I felt a spark reignite within me. A reminder of the strength I had long forgotten. That glimmer of hope became a lifeline, a reminder that I still had a choice, a path forward, even if it was terrifying to take. In the darkest moments, my children became my guiding light, the source of my strength. Lily would wrap her arms around me, whispering, "Mom, I love you so much." And Ethan's laughter, his innocent smile, filled the silence in ways I could never have imagined. They didn't fully understand what was happening, but their presence was a constant reminder of what truly mattered. Watching them, I knew I couldn't let them grow up in a home filled with silence. A mother who was meant respect, a smile, small kindness from them was like a lifeline, pulling me out of the depths of despair. I owed it to them to find my way back to myself, to show them that even in heartbreak, there was hope, resilience, and the promise of better days. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. One evening as he walked through the door, I gathered all the courage I had left. "We need to talk," I said firmly, my voice steady. I told him I deserved the truth, that I couldn't live in this half-life of lies and silence anymore. He looked at me, caught off guard by my strength, by the fire he hadn't seen in me for so long. The conversation erupted, voices raised, emotions raw, years of hurt spilling out in a torrent. But I didn't hold back. For the first time, I told him how deeply he had hurt me, how his betrayal had torn my life apart. As the tears fell, I felt a strange sense of release, as though I was shedding a weight I had carried for too long. By the end of that night, I knew there was no going back. I had reclaimed my voice, my worth, and I knew, no matter what happened next, I would be okay. Making the decision to separate from Daniel was the hardest choice I had ever faced. The weight of it sat heavy in my heart. The